Welcome back. My name is LastKnownMeal, and welcome to the 18th episode of the Cyberpunk 2077 Community Podcast. Today with me I have the usual bunch. I'm going to start from the right. MadQueen, what's up?
Hello, greetings, Earthlings.
The Neon Arcade.
What's up, everyone?
Triple S League.
Good afternoon.
And our special guest for today, another amazing YouTuber, Gamermd83. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you.
So it's gonna be a fun stream today. We have a lot of things to talk about. Some of them are a bit controversial, but that's how we like it. So I think I'm gonna start first with the recent, how would I say, misinformation about the religion in Cyberpunk in Night City. So does anyone want to start with this? Like an intro?
Well, this is a very funny subject because I always trust that there are idiots in the press who would make that kind of questions. Like before we enter into the subject of mistranslation, it is funny that someone believes that you can go into any place in Night City and start shooting without consequences. Because in the world of Cyberpunk, in Night City, there's this law called the federal law statute that means that everybody can carry an insane amount of weapons openly for self-protection. And if you start shooting on the street or you start shooting inside a church, everybody's going to be armed to their teeth and they're going to shoot back. So it won't be a great idea.
But I love how they went to Google Translate for, it's like, okay, let's get a professional translation here.
we made this point a few weeks ago on one of our podcasts where they went in and used an auto translation to translate stuff. They kind of got a little bit of a wonky translation, but then when they were given the correction, they just believed the correction that somebody else gave them. They didn't bother to at all at any point get an actual translator in to actually translate the what was being said.
Oh God!
Is the
Media
correction
is
going to
just-
get clicks?
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah.
not.
It's just a rush to get clicks. They have no
Yeah.
like verification methods anymore. It's like, geez, even we have higher verification methods than they do.
I know.
Yeah, it's funny because you think like all of these big media companies should at least have someone who is going to translate like Polish or those kind of websites. Because if I was running a media house like that, and if I'm getting a lot of information from Poland, I would definitely outsource that to a professional translator to actually verify. Yeah, makes sense. But
Especially
yes, that's
something so serious like that type of topic.
mhm.
How could you say that about a company that, you know, having no respect for religion? It's like when they actually said the absolute opposite. It's like, come on.
Yeah, and that's the problem with today's stuff you put in the games. For as long as it's like religion or politics, it has to be like controversial. Like if you're trying to mimic the world, and of course it is 2077, it is a cyberpunk world, but even this is cyberpunk world, we still have religion, so why not implement it in like the normal way? Like why
Yeah.
There are plenty of religions that still exist in the cyberpunk universe.
Mhm.
And it's funny that you mentioned that. It's controversial. Come on, in gaming, everything is controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Since when killing Nazis in Wolfenstein should be controversial?
Yeah.
Do you remember this speech at past QuakeCon when Pete Hines announced the port of Wolfenstein for Nintendo Switch, and he said that at Bethesda we are firmly committed to bring killing Nazis to all the platforms, and there were people offended by that. I mean, Nazis have been the quintessential enemies like since forever.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to the next Indiana Jones film?
Yeah.
It boils down to a lot of the advertiser friendly stuff that they're trying to go with, and that killing anybody is seen as a negative. I was just watching a little bit of a documentary this morning, and how like kids' cartoons they couldn't have the bad guys be actually bad. Like they couldn't show the bad guys, in G.I. Joe and some of these other things. It was considered a big no-no in Saturday morning cartoons to show the bad guys killing anybody and then the good guys showing up and then like stopping them. It's like no. They need to do non-violent or just like generally kind of like sort of violent-ish stuff that doesn't hurt anybody, and then the good guys show up and stop them. It's like, wow, that is a cartoon facade of a reality that's just a little too stupid. Like,
yeah, it's not even a thing. It's never been a thing with games.
Like it used to be when I was growing up. Used to be, in the 1920s, we'd hear all about all the stories of the. Sorry, I didn't mean to date myself there. We used to hear all these stories about how you're fighting off the bandits, trying to steal and rob you from everything that you have.
Yeah.
No. I would like to answer a question in the comments by Mariana Obsindra that said, also don't forget Polygon and Kotaku are obsessed with getting politics in games. Politics have been in games since forever.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something surreal for me how people can forget how deep politics are inside games. You're playing a game that it's about a war, for instance. Yeah, a war is political. People don't go to war because they are bored.
Mm-hmm.
and the cyberpunk world is super political. In fact, even the Gang of Four, the ones the government in the shadows that caused the apocalypse that started this universe, it was a parody of the Reagan administration in the United States. I mean, there's a lot of political subjects inside. It's also true that inside the gaming community, there is a sector of the community that considers everything to be political except the political subjects. Because, for instance, there is only one gender, male or political. There's only one, sexual attraction, straight or political. That's not political. Political is talking about corruption, is talking about upheavals, is talking about living on the streets, is talking about poverty. And these subjects are going to be explored in Cyberpunk 2077, as they are explored in a lot of games.
Yeah.
And a lot of them. I like. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No. Continue, please.
I was just gonna say that, I instead of people having respect for CD Projekt Red, how they deal with these real issues that people and understand in different ways and maybe have an open mind to different views. CD Projekt Red dealt with some really mature themes in The Witcher, but they always handled it in a very respectful way, and people still twisted their words, and it was like,
and that
it's gonna happen.
And that's the thing. That's the thing in The Witcher. Even The Witcher is political. Like every single king there has his own politics. Same with Cyberpunk. And if you're going to include that stuff, it's the reason. The politics are the reason why Night City is the way it looks like in 2077. There's no avoiding that. It's just it doesn't have to deal with real world that we live in. It's like, oh, it's a commentary on the real world, maybe in some sense, but again, not to the full extent. There's still different types of politics that are revolving around in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Well, the main political subject in Cyberpunk is always corruption, the corruption of the government and the corruption of the media, and this is something that obviously, especially the corruption of the media, because we are living a time where the news are spread on the internet, and the way to do so is clickbait, basically, because. On the older times, you had always one channel of television that you always watch, or one newspaper that you always bought. But now you don't go to the same media. You go to the social networks you use, and then you have links to go to the news that you want to read. And then obviously these outlets need something to make a living, so they put adverts and such. And now we're living in a world where media is all about clickbait to get that money, to get the outlet surviving. And we're reaching quite... I don't know, this yellow way of doing things, of always going to the most impactful thing for people to watch, it has been around for quite a long time in television as well. But the level that we reached recently with the internet and with clickbait is so fucking amazing.
But think how popular like fake news and all that stuff is. Like most people nowadays actually get their news from Facebook, and there's so much fake information out there. Like, how are you going to discern that? That's why these these big gaming companies are they're not having the integrity to go back and fix their quote unquote clickbait titles, because that's what sells. It doesn't
That's
matter to
so
fix it because there's so much fake news, nobody's going to be able to care enough.
yeah.
Well, yeah, so the other day, I saw the Spanish version, and then Outstar put in Twitter the Polish version of a group that was anti-abortion. And to make a point, they showed a picture of Hideo Kojima, and I can't remember who was the woman that had the fetus of Death Stranding, and they were showing it. And yes, the comments they took for granted that the sculpture of the fetus was a real
Oh
baby.
God.
Oh God.
And Hideo Kojima himself, I mean.
Ugh.
Madness.
That's the thing.
It's like they Go ahead.
That's the thing. Just wanted to say, like, for example, how people get news for Cyberpunk, for example. Like the clickbait farming is on Facebook is insane. It's still going on. And the more I like, for example, I just Google Cyberpunk 2077 news. It's crazy how many articles there is with fake information where I'm just standing like you have many other people who are going to pick up that news and they're not going to fact check it because they will believe that website. And that creates problems later for everyone. So yeah.
Well, there are certain media that have a lot of credibility, and I'm sometimes shocked that they don't, as we said before, that they don't double check.
It's almost like they don't want to double check. They kind of want to get the information wrong because it becomes more controversial and people actually talk more about it. It's kind of sickening.
Yeah.
There's this book called Good Omens that recently they made the series that I didn't watch yet, and at the beginning it's an angel and a demon, and at the beginning the angel and the demon are discussing because the side of the demon did a mistake. So then the angel goes on and on in a rant about how this is the thing that happens when you do the things the evil way, and then evil always ends up destroying itself and blah blah blah. And the demon says, no, you are reading too much. This is just human stupidity.
Yeah.
So most probably, I honestly believe that the majority of the mistakes are quote unquote honest mistakes. I think that the term would be lazy mistakes because they don't want to double check. It is true that I've seen a lot of articles, especially in things that I do have a knowledge about, and I know that it's not true. That I believe should have that the information should have been treated with more respect because it was important.
Yeah, it is definitely. No, I don't see the big of an issue here. Maybe I'm not from, I don't know, like it's, for example, putting religion in that way, like having actual religious groups. For me, it's like having Christianity, Islam, whatever they decide to put in Night City. It is what it is. It is the religions we have.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I want to circle back to this thing because it's always about trying to go a little bit deeper and find where this stuff comes from with regards to the fake news stuff. The original poster of that one comment about Kojima, that profile is about 3 weeks old, and it has no friends or family. So you can pretty much say at this point that was that's definitely created and designed by somebody to create the fiasco in the first place, because there's no way that this one person with only one thing on their account other than this was a real thing. Like you just don't get that happening, whether it's somebody doing a black flag or somebody doing just wanting to create a throwaway account so that they could say something ridiculous. In either case, it's like nobody took that extra step to even examine who actually created the first rumor to begin with. And we, like, this is part of what I do in the main thing is that the whole goal is to like track down information, and like I said kind of earlier, is like the amount that people actually look at what's actually going on is next to nothing these days. It's really disturbing. It's really disturbing. So don't fall into the trap of believing what you read and then also believing what other people want you to believe based off of a reaction to that originally. It's like,
well, the funny thing is that I saw that and thought, well, the people don't know who Hideo Kojima is. In fact, I saw an example some time ago that it was even worse, because we have this political thing in Spain where the rest of Spain hates us Catalans, and they're constantly trying to find new reasons to hate us. And there was this post on Facebook of the film Logan. Okay, the film Logan. I believe that it's a massive film. Everybody more or less knows it. And there was Hugh Jackman, the scene where he has some X-Men comics in his hands and he's bleeding, and a picture of that, and the text said that this man was a man who was trying to buy comics in Spanish in Catalonia, and this was the response because we only sell comics in Catalan in here. And at first I thought it was a joke, because I mean, Logan, everybody knows Logan, everybody should recognize this scene from the and the answers to that, everybody was like, oh yeah, damn Catalans. Like,
oh god,
most comics are not even translated into Catalan. We read comics in Spanish or in English here.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy to what extent that goes. And it's like with these articles, it's maybe not even like they don't want to go for further information. They will just want to release the topic as fast as they can. It's like this is the problem now with YouTube. This is the problem now with general internet. As if something comes up, you have to be the first. You have to do it as fast as you can to get the most traction, to get the most clicks, likes, whatever. And then the problem comes if you have all the information. Are you going to rather wait to release the info as it is in a good way, or do it fast, get clicks, but lose credibility? And everyone, I guess, goes for the first option to lose credibility here now. I don't know.
Yeah. It's sad.
Please go on.
Say it's a sad thing to not have time to actually, report the actual facts.
Also, bad news sell. This is something I was discussing yesterday with a friend. This is the worst thing about YouTube, that bad news sell. Sell better than good news. And I remember this is a lesson that I learned some years ago when all this thing at the working conditions at Projekt RED happened. That we had an investigative report talking about with almost 50 developers working there. And Sib and I were trying all the media to get into it and to spread the information. And one very big outlet said that they didn't want in because it was good news, and good news don't sell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we
that's just how news has worked.
It's like we're not interested in running this story because this counteracts the narrative that's currently pushing a lot of our clicks. Is basically what they could have said. They didn't say that exactly, but that was the intonation. Is that no, we don't want to run this story, and we're not interested in this, primarily because this just isn't going to sell, and we really just want to sell sell clicks first, then worry about truth and objectivity later.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, great, cool.
And this is also a problem because here in YouTube there's a lot of creators who, instead of going to the information, to the source of information, that I understand that sometimes is a difficult thing to do, which I believe that with this investigative report, I think I proved that it wasn't that hard. But yeah, it wasn't that hard. I mean, I wasn't even 3,000 subs at that time, and I talked to almost 50 people inside the studio. That people that I didn't know. I mean, it's not that I had friends back then. So I think that I proved that it's not that difficult to ask the questions. And the problem is that then someone big says the news. If it's bad news, it sells. And then you have a lot of smaller outlets that go behind and report the same news. And they have no way to check the validity of those news.
Yes.
Yes, they run with the thing that's immediately off the top of the head. So,
yeah.
Well, we'll see what's gonna be for the future. Hopefully, like, I'm guessing now, as you know, the release date of Cyberpunk is coming closer now that Gamescom is coming, PAX. Hopefully, there is not going to be that much fake information out there. But you know how it is before every conference, before every presentation, like, oh, we saw this, we saw that, we saw this pamphlet. And like, yeah, maybe you could, but most of the time it's fake. But yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about it, there is something that I loved in Cyberpunk Red, which I believe we're still on embargo, and I cannot say a lot about it. Yes, we're on embargo. Yes, and then I'll comment on next podcast that we won't be. But there's something that they kept from the 3rd edition that gives Cyberpunk 2077 the ability to discuss this if they want to.
Nice. Yeah. Now, by the way, is there anyone else who wants to wrap up on this topic of religion, or can we move on to?
I actually have a question that it reminded me of some news that I had read maybe like a few weeks ago about translators in the actual game, like where they were saying, I don't know if you guys know if this is an actual thing, but they were going to have characters speak the language that they were going to speak, and then your character V would have like an actual translator implant to see what the person was saying.
Well, this was one of the first things that was said about the game like 3 years ago, that we were going to have translation implants. And in fact, as in the new demo that is going to be public at PAX, there's a scene where people talk Creole. And obviously, if you don't have an implant to translate, you're not going to understand that unless you as a player do understand that. I honestly don't know how they Creole got translated in the demo. Yes, they got translated in the demo, but the translation chip works in subtitles. You don't hear a voice in your head. So if you have the translation chip, then everything is subtitled.
It's tied to your optics, not your auditory anything. It's tied to your Kiroshi optics. So the implant, the translator implant, is tied to your optics, so that's why it's live translating from the subtitles.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's kind of been part of the plan from the beginning, which is really
yeah. But
cool
they always change plans, you know that, and they and they revive the plans and they kill them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was actually a comment, I think. Who was it? Was it Baginski or was it... I don't know who was it. He basically said... or I think it was Marcin Nowinski who said, like, oh, you think we have, like, serious board meeting? No, we just stand in, like, circle and we're like, okay, what do we want? Let's do something crazy. It's like a million
I'm
ideas.
sure he's exaggerating.
Yeah, I mean,
if it was exactly like this, I don't believe that the company would have survived that long.
Yeah.
In fact, I imagine the board meetings. When I've seen board meetings, because some of them are streamed, and they are very serious. But the ones that are streams, the ones that are streams are the ones that are intended to be watched by investors.
Yeah.
So I believe that outside the camera they behave differently, and I imagine in my head Marcin Nowinski being the crazy one, and Alan Kuczynski being like, okay, let's put a break on that and let's think about this twice.
Yeah, you know that GIF, conspiracy GIF, where that guy is like shaking his head. It's like you have a whiteboard behind him. It's like all lines. He's trying to connect some dots. I imagine that in CD Projekt RED's office. Like, can we have this? It's like no, calm down.
All the math equations.
I think the no guy is Adam Badowski.
Yeah. Oh.
Because he looks so serious. I'm sure that in the intimacy of the studio he's more cheerful, but always from the outside he looks like a very serious person.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the worst.
They
are the craziest. Trust me.
Well, he's the director of the game, so I hope he has a little limit. Or maybe not. Maybe it's better if they don't.
Well, he has to steer the ship, so of course he has to be that sane guy who's like, wait. Let's take a step back, bit, calm down. So it makes sense.
Because also you have to also the figure of the producer that says, well, okay, how much is going this cost? How much are we talking about? What's the cost of it?
You just have one guy in the room saying like, okay, real talk, Keanu Reeves. By the way, did you guys hear about the hardcore mode in Cyberpunk with that removes your UI as you play?
Yeah, I did. I just read about that.
What do you think about that?
I like it. I don't know if I'll do it because I know it. I remember Red Dead Redemption 2. It had that. I know some other games have done that, but recently Red Dead Redemption 2, I tried to do it where it takes off the whole map and it does. You have to actually ask people where things are, and God, it's hard.
Yep,
it's so hard. So I would love to do it, but oof.
Dark Souls never had a map, okay?
That's true, yeah. But that's Dark Souls, right?
If we can do it in Dark Souls, we can do it in Cyberpunk.
Try in Outward.
Oh my God, yes. I've played Outward too, and it's kind of, I mean, it's fun once you get used to it, because we're so used to the game kind of telling us where to go and everything, making things easy. But when all of that is removed, it adds like a completely different aspect to what playing a video game like that is, like an open world RPG. Yeah. So I would love to be able to do it. I think they also have they have the hardcore mode, and then they also have the story mode for people that don't really want to go that hardcore.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
And I'm intrigued for the hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I hear that a game has hardcore mode, which removes the UI, for me that's Christmas, because for me that's immersion. When I don't have anything in front of me, I have to look at the signs. I'm guessing like the map will show where you are, but even if you don't have that, like navigating through Night City and actually traveling there and just having that experience for me in hardcore mode is something much better than just having UI, have everything in front of you. And same with ammo. If you don't have UI, you don't know how many bullets you have in your gun.
Right.
The UI kind of just shuttles you around, right? It kind of makes you play on autopilot almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're kind of more exploring what it means to be an open world. It's an open world game, so just walk around and do whatever you want, right?
Actually appreciating what CD Projekt RED did to actually make it possible.
I noticed that in Fallout 4, for example, when hardcore mode came out, it's like, oh, really? You have a road here? God damn it, I didn't see that last time. I was fast traveling across the map.
Yeah. That's the thing I dislike the most. That they removed the fast travel. That's the only thing.
It's amazing. You have to actually...
I would like to... Oh, sorry.
You have to actually walk there. It's amazing, trust me.
And people...
I would like to answer a question. Sorry.
People are still demanding and wanting to have worlds that are like, comparative size to real worlds, and it's like you realize that you'll spend like, if there's no fast travel, if there's no like cars or like anything faster than a horse, you're never going to see even like a fraction of the world, and that is cool. And there's definitely like concepts for this down the road, but it's like some people want that and they don't realize the scope of the insanity that is. It's like, yeah, I knew somebody in the SWTOR MMO that wanted to level one character of every class, of every type, and master absolutely everything. And I think they spent like 2 or 3 years grinding at it before they could do it. It's with their busy schedule. It's like, why?
Wait, what game is this?
There's a Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Jesus. Oh God. Yeah, but there is one more thing that I'm looking forward to, hopefully. I mean, UI is one thing, but also enemies. I want them to be deadly, but not bullet spongy, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, it's like every time I see someone, okay, we have insane difficulties, just that, your enemies have a gazillion HP. No. Let me do the same thing, but, I mean, they can be deadlier. If I'm punished for my mistakes in hardcore mode, that's amazing. But also, if they make a mistake, if the AI makes a mistake, I want to punish them, not to shoot them 5 minutes because they have million health.
But is the AI
this is something that you're absolutely right. This is something that I hate in some games where higher difficulty just means that the enemy has a bigger health bar, or you make less damage instead of the AI being more smart.
Yeah. I wish that, is there a game out there that actually like the AI learns your moves? Like, I don't know, like a shooter game where it actually like
not a shooter, but I know that
yes, actually.
the Lord of the Rings one, what's it called? Shadow of Mordor?
Oh yeah, they adapt.
Learning AI and stuff.
There's a bit of an adapter AI there. There was an AI system. There was a lot of AI systems that were pre-console push that were quite advanced. There was a couple of robot simulators that would get an AI to like learn how to do challenges better, and yet it was like a little ant, but it was definitely like a robotic type ant in a 3D environment, and you would like encourage it to do things until it figured out how to like repeat tasks better and better and better. Then there was also Descent 2, and Descent 2 featured a learning algorithm where if you used a particular type of weapon, all of the enemies in the base would switch to tactics that would bypass that. If you tended to peek around corners before flying around the corner, they would wait for you to peek around the corner, then they would wait for you to come around the corner, then they would launch their attack. And it was a very, very intelligent AI growth system, and all of that was put on a bit of a kibosh. Anytime that there's a really deep AI that shows up in video games, most of the time the project disappears for some reason.
For some reason.
I'm not kidding. One of the biggest ones was a recent AI learning system that they had in the next Elder Scrolls. Not Elder Scrolls, EverQuest. In the next EverQuest game. And that AI system was bought up by a Russian hard asset company, and then the project was shelved.
Oh, God.
So if you're really interested to know what happens with smart, true AI, like not true AI, but like AI that's pushing limits in video games, you can go through the list, and every single one that is showing some really strong potential that's never been seen before, almost always the project will either disappear or the company will be broken up, and then the ownership of said title will vanish into the bloody ether and never be seen again. And you might think, oh, Cyb's gone crazy. Yeah, just look it up. It gets crazier every inch you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you would actually want the AI to learn that much. It wasn't like League of Legends or Dota that actually like was playing against pro players, and after a couple of matches, the pro players couldn't do anything against it. They actually learned every single one of their moves.
Yeah, they got destroyed by. I think that was Dota 2.
Yeah, Dota. Yeah.
I think Elon Musk was somewhat involved in that.
Of course.
Along the line, he had to be, right? Of course. But yeah, they got floored. That's crazy. That's kind of scary. I don't want the AI in video games to get better. Screw that.
But also progression, like that's also something like if that other games usually don't get. Like you increase the difficulty and then you have to grind for your levels or abilities. You always have to find that sweet spot. And because Cyberpunk is going to work in this proficiency kind of a way where you just, as you're using something, you get better and better. I wonder if that, if that line is going to be longer. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But is the hardcore mode, is that I only read that it was stripping you of the UI. I didn't read anything that was the AI was better.
Just clarification. We just know about the UI. Everything else, it's just speculation, and it's just me. Please, CDPR, please. So
I mean, they've said that they're gonna have multiple difficulty settings. I just don't know if the harder enemy AI is tied to the hardcore mode, or if that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
Hardcore mode is just the stripping of the UI. I think that'd make more sense if they separated it.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Well, we'll see. Because in The Witcher, I think it didn't change anything that much. Just changed the damage you deal to enemies and damage enemies deal to you. Like, you couldn't really tackle higher level enemies, so maybe it's going to be something similar to that.
I think it would be.
For a logical, not as a speculation, just a logical kind of a way it would go. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, that makes sense.
By the way, did anyone hear about... there was a question on Reddit. Someone asked, do I have to wait till the game is out to hear the full Samurai EP? And then they answered, we already released one single and there's more to follow. So, are you looking forward to that? Some new songs?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many songs are actually going to... Like, obviously that's going to be in the radios, in the car, but...
Well, they're making the Samurai EP and then they're doing the regular original soundtrack, right? So those two are separated.
Yeah.
So that we're gonna get even more music.
I believe that they said what songs were they going to make in the Samurai EP on Twitter.
Black Dog,
I'm not 100% sure, but
I remember Black Dog being in there and Never Fade Away. There's one more as well.
Dancing with My Ex, I guess.
That might have been it.
I just wanna... James Thomas, thank you for the $2 donation. Element damage in Cyberpunk like oil type debuff in V3? I don't know, it's like here you're using bullets, so that's a bit different. I don't think we're gonna be putting oils on guns, but I'm guessing different types of ammo and weapons will deal different types of damage to enemies. Probably the shielded ones and, non-shielded ones. I don't know what you guys think about that.
They talked about having a customization of weapons that was similar to Deus Ex.
Ooh.
So...
They referenced poison for mantis blades as well, so...
Oh, nice.
And crafting those kind of things as well.
Yeah. Like different types of bullets, different types of scopes, different types of stuff that you add onto your gun, I think will work very similar to the buffs and debuffs for The Witcher 3. And not oils or potions, but in a in a more cyberpunk way.
They're doing a lot of things that are so similar to The Witcher 3, like even the Karoshi eye implant. Like that's just pretty much a similar thing to your Witcher senses, right? So you're obviously gonna have to use that for investigating the environment.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like low-key things that are very similar, which is not a bad thing, but.
True. I also wonder, like, when V turns on I don't know what that was, the red thing in the demo when he's trying to see, is that for the darkness? Like the red overlay that goes onto the screen in the gameplay demo, if you remember? Like, it's got orangish, goddammit, that's not even a word.
That's the Karoshi, isn't it?
Yeah, probably that. I don't know, for me that was kind of, I don't see anything.
Any difference?
Oh, we'll have to wait. Now, also...
I'd like to answer a question before I lose it.
Yes.
Someone who asked how many records did Samurai had? And I believe that in the Rockboy source book, where there's an interview with Kerry Eurodyne, it's mentioned that they have 5 records. And then Johnny Silverhand went solo and released one called Sins of Your Brothers. And I don't know if they mentioned a second record from Johnny Silverhand on going solo. Not sure about that.
Yeah, it's interesting, because like the one that they released is so goddamn cool. I just want more, because like there is like a Cyberpunk playlist on Spotify. It's like it's one song, and then like other songs are cool, but just give me the whole EP. Yeah.
Yes, and then they should do Sins of Your Brothers.
Yeah. Now, there was also some background on Jackie, if you read that. It's like, he was Valentino's, then he ditched it because his mother found out. Like, I want his mom as a companion. Imagine how tough you have to be to say to Jackie, like, oh, you have to leave that.
Dude, that would be so funny. Jackie's mom
just takes off her flip-flop and chucks it at him.
Yeah. I'm curious, how did the Valentinos evolve? Because in the 2020s, the Valentinos were a poster gang, and the only thing they were interested in was flirting, was sleeping with people. That was the only thing that interested them. And then in the first trailer that was released, well, the first trailer, not the teaser, that was released past E3, you had this moment where you have several newspapers, and in one said that the Valentinos were involved in something in Pacifica,
Didn't
And
they?
it didn't sound like a gang that was there just to sleep with people.
Yeah, didn't they become a Latino-only gang?
No.
Really?
Maybe they were getting catfished too much, so they had to stop.
Sorry?
Maybe they were getting catfished too much, so they had to stop.
There was that moment when the Valentino guy is actually like taking out the eye. I don't know if that was Jackie, but for a slight second when that one guy is taking out the eye of the other guy, on the collar you can see Valentino's.
Yes, but I believe it was the wild things that went around removing eyes of the people, and not the Valentinos. That's why I'm not sure if it was the wild things. Also, the Inquisitors, if the eye was an implant, because the Inquisitors is a booster gang that just hates implants and hates people that are cybered up. They only use drugs and sometimes Bioware, which I believe is quite hypocritical, being against Cyberware but using Bioware. It's like,
it's like potato.
No. Well, not really. Like Cyberware is machine and metal, and Bioware is like, it's just getting you more biological stuff. There's a bunch of alien races in a couple of different video games that kind of approach the same thing. It's like there's the biological evolution route, and then there's the scientific technology metal type advancement. But little do they know that it's all boils down to the same thing once you get high enough.
I'd like to answer some questions if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Since it's Latino only as per the news, can you confirm when Aditya in the original law it wasn't, but as well as the Voodoo Boys changed in that? Because the original Voodoo Boys were all about cultural appropriation. Maybe in the Valentinos they made the same, because it changed. It doesn't look like it's a poser gang anymore. The second question is about Bioware. Bioware is like Cyberware, but instead of being made of plastic and metal, it's made of biological components. It's basically the same, and it also gives you advantages, and it in most cases also costs humanity. But yes, I guess that in the minds of the Inquisitors, metal and plastic and biological components are different. And I'm very pissed. I am very, 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 very pissed because I saw a certain interview where the developer was interrupted in a moment when I believe he was about to explain something about Bioware.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Yes,
I've seen that once or twice in some interviews where it's like the guy seems to be leading into to reveal something really cool, but then at the last second the interviewer is like, oh, but what about pistols? And it totally ruins the direction that they were headed, and then suddenly you're not getting the really cool piece of information that would have been super awesome. But yeah, no, that's seems to be unfortunately fairly common, because yeah.
Another question from Marian of Sintra. Speaking of aliens, has there been a mention of aliens in Cyberpunk 2077? Well, the thing is that Rage Bodmos, the master of Netrunners, thought that there were aliens inside the net already. It was something that he thought. It wasn't proof that there were actual aliens. And as the net is destroyed, because this same Rage Bodmos, had a dead man switch, and if he died, the net would die with him. What a charming guy. Now the net is destroyed, so if there were aliens there, I don't believe that they are anymore.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's funny because in the law, there are several things that are, the law is not explained as a fact. Some things are, but something is like, there was this rumor and this other rumor, and this guy believes this, and it left a lot to the imagination of people and to the imagination of the game director. And this is one of the most amazing things of the game, because then the experiences were very different. Because in the source book, where you explain this about the net, this source book is Spider Murphy, who is a net runner, that is explaining what Rage Bodmos believes about the net. So she discusses about this thing about the aliens because she doesn't believe that they are aliens. And then you have the note in the corner that says, well, you as a game director, you will choose if you have aliens or you don't have aliens in the net. And there were a lot of things like that. And I'm curious to see how all these things that may or may not happen depending on the game director, what are they going to do with them in the game?
Cool to see.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody asked something right now. If I could just bring it up, because I read something about it. What is motion sickness in games? I don't know if you guys get it, but I get motion sickness in FPS games. So I'm like I'm kind of worried about Cyberpunk. But the cool thing that I was reading is that you'll have. I mean, a lot of games do this, but it's cool to have confirmation that Cyberpunk will be having a field of view slider, because with motion sickness in first person shooters, a lot of it's basically your brain knows you're not moving, but your eyes see things moving on the screen. So it just makes you dizzy and nauseous and stuff. But when you view, making it wider so it doesn't, you don't get too much tunnel vision where you can see more of the screen. It kind of helps for motion sickness. So I just read that today that they'll have sliders for field of view. So I was like, oh, thank goodness.
That's not the only good news, because we had Lelaya in the podcast some time ago, and she confirmed that you can disable head bobs.
Oh, great! Oh,
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
You can
Head bobs is a big one. There's a couple other.
A motion blur too.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
There are a few different causes to motion sickness. It can also have to do with like your inner ear balance, like internal balance. Yeah. You can have pressure on various like eyes, ears, that kind of thing that can affect that. You can have a nervous system malfunction, and you can also have like spatially, if you're overly spatially aware, then you will also be prone to motion sickness, because you're feeling movement on everything, and then it's not correlating with what actions you are currently taking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's just some of the causes, like,
yeah.
And the symptoms range from dizziness and drowsiness to some more like crazy things. Like you can get vomiting spells. You can get a whole bunch of other, like, short breath syndrome can develop, and you can also end up accidentally drooling all over yourself, which is kind of a rare one. But it's like, that's fun stuff.
Well, I fainted at the end of BioShock 1, the first time.
Did you really?
Yes, because I was stubborn and I wanted to finish it, because at that time I didn't have a console myself, so I went to the place of my friend to play it, and I only had limited time to play it, so it's like I want to finish it.
Oh.
And then I just when my friend arrived, so are you done? And I was like,
oh my god.
It is an interesting conversation though, because I don't have that, luckily, but does it help, like, if you're closer or further away from the TV or monitor? What's worse?
It depends for everybody. Like, it just as there's all different kinds of reactions to it, the ways of dealing with it or reducing overall difficulty with it also are substantially different for each and every single person too.
Yeah, so, like for me, if I'm close, it depends a lot on the size of the screen more than the distance that you're sitting. So if you've got a big screen and you're sitting close, you're gonna have it worse, because
it's the opposite for me.
Really? See, I get it.
I have a 65-inch screen for that.
And if you sit close, you're okay?
Yes.
Oh, see, I get it worse if I sit close. I have to sit further. The bigger the screen, the further I have to sit.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's.
Or also, I don't know if you get it, like where if what you're seeing is a lot of one color, like what's it called? Have you guys heard of that game?
No.
What? Which game?
It's called an Unfinished Swan. It's all white, and then you just like black ink starts to form the levels. That game really it wrecked me.
No, I didn't hear about it. Huh,
yeah, I think it was because I didn't know where I was going, and that really messed with my.
Yeah, that's something that was a big discussion when they announced that Cyberpunk is gonna be first person only without mods. Yeah, everyone were like, okay, it's not only about immersion, but it's also about motion sickness. A lot of people have it, and it's like if they're trying their best to reduce the dangers of that with the first person perspective, then cool. And especially like I didn't know about the head bobbing. It's good that actually I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't like that either. It's good that they're keeping all of that stuff in mind.
Yeah. By the way, did you hear about them not? I mean, that's something we knew, but they actually confirmed that, of course, it's not going to have pre-order bonuses like Cyberpunk is not going to include that. So
before we switch the subject, would you mind that I answer some questions before I lose them?
Please.
I have Denise the Plan asking, what if the rabbits fused with the aliens and evolved into the horrors they are now? For those of you who don't know, the rabbits virus is what caused the data crash, which is what made the net, what destroyed the net. And that would be very interesting. And the thing is that according to Rage Botmos, the region of Pacifica in the net, that is the one that Night City belongs to, was an artificial intelligence. So imagine the combinations if the Projekt RED wanted to do all that.
That'd be awesome.
Aditya asks, Alvin Liu said Orbital exists as a company. He mentions only this one apart from Arasaka and Militech. Any suborbital or space quests? In spite of having a suborbital flight in the first trailer, we had Lilaya in the podcast some time ago, and she confirmed that we are not going to space in the main game. So we'll figure what's going to happen later.
Interesting choice of words.
I like Zane's comment. I get motion sickness when I read a rock, paper, shotgun article.
Brilliant.
Tiger Shark Madness asks, isn't there a gang of clowns in the game that used to just pull pranks, then go mad with implants and cyberware and become a gang of serial killers? Well, I believe that you mean the Bozos. The Bozos is a gang that bioscoped themselves to look like clowns. And it's not that they are wearing a red nose that you can put in and out. They bioscope this red nose to be a part of their nose. And they do very sadistic jokes. And in fact, the way of attracting new people into the gang is doing pranks on one person until this person goes crazy and has no other choice but accepting to join. And this gang was created by Lisa Pondsmith, the wife of Mike Pondsmith. That's one of the reasons why everybody believes that they are going to be in the game. The perfect combination, the absolutely perfect combination, because it was confirmed in the current gameplay and in the images that we saw in the special edition of the game that Pacifica is in the game, obviously, and the amusement park of Pacifica, Playland by the Sea, is in the game. And at this point, it most probably is completely destroyed. So imagine having Playland by the Sea in the game, and then this is the turf of the Bozos.
Oh,
awesome!
Oh
Man.
God, yeah, I just get flashbacks from all those games, like was it Oblivion, where that guy follows you and just asks questions. Imagine having that in Cyberpunk. It's like every single second you're on a mission, someone is like, "Hey, what's up? You want to join a gang?"
Well, they make pranks. There's one prank that Mike Pondsmith explained to explain how the Bozos were, that they followed you inside an elevator and they were like wearing a bath suit, and how's this called? Oh shit, I don't remember the name. This thing you put in your waist to float.
Like
tube?
a
Floating tube?
flotation tube. Yeah, like
yes,
sometimes
that's
with a unicorn or a duck or something on
Yeah.
it.
Yes, with a duck in the front. So they get into the elevator with you, and then suddenly he puts something in his face to cover it, and the elevator is flooded, and the Bozo is watching you drown.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's lovely.
Wow. Wow.
They stop. They're like, it was just a prank. And you're like,
so
oh
long,
my god, I
pacifist
almost died.
playthrough.
And if the Bozos are in the game, there is some piece of advice that I want to give to everybody. The Bozos come with a dead man's switch. They have a bomb inside. So if you kill them, they can explode.
Ooh.
So this a good bozo is a dead bozo? No, not always. I mean, you kill them from the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you just saved my life. You just saved me of a loading screen in the game.
Yeah.
Well, you are immortal, so I saved you from being in the dumpster and.
Oh yeah.
Having Morgan Blackhand to pick you up.
Imagine that actually happens. Like everything you say from onward to that point, we're like, okay, this is confirmed.
Weren't Bozos big into net running as well in 2020?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Good.
I remember reading that they have a net presence at least.
Well, if they have a net presence, doesn't mean that they are good in net running.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just scare people. Or maybe they pay people to have avatars that look like them or something like that. Go figure.
Oh.
You never know with the Bozos. There was this interview from Night City Life. They talked to Miles Toast.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew was all the time insisting about the Bozos, trying to get Miles to confirm the Bozos.
He didn't deny it.
He didn't deny it.
Yeah.
No. But he said, "We will see. We will see. You will see," and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't take this as a confirmation.
Well, we'll see. Now,
Time for Red asks, in classic tabletop, utilizing the environment, setting traps, ambushes, etc., was the key to surviving contact. How well do you think this has been implemented into the game? I believe that in an early interview that the Projekt RED already talked that we were going to be able to interact with the surroundings. In the new demo, I believe that the only thing that was shown was the interacting with mechanic things in the surrounding. So we don't really know. We don't really know how far did they go with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we have anything else from this topic, or do we want to move on?
Whatever you like, you can give me whatever the topic, and I can talk about it.
Okay. Let's talk about CD Projekt actually not giving anything. Oh, I just want a quick rant about this because I recently talked about just CD Projekt not actually giving anyone any pre-order bonuses, and I'm always for that because pre-order bonuses are basically thank you for buying something you didn't test out first. And for me, like, someone actually said, like, okay, that's not cool from them. They're not respecting the community because they're not giving any pre-order bonuses for the biggest fans. Okay, if someone pre-orders something, yes, they could be a fan, but you're not doing any service to the developers if you pre-order just to get those bonuses, because there was many examples in the past where you pre-order something and you get that extra loot, but the game itself is either unplayable or it's glitched or it's bugged or it's just a waste of your money. So I would rather pre-order a game from a studio I trust and not get anything for it, because we do know that CDPR is going to give us free DLCs like they did with The Witcher. Expansions are a whole nother story, but again, I'm not going to pre-order something just because of those items. And like, for a CDPR to do this in 2019, it's like a very positive thing. So what does everyone think about that?
Well, the person that said that this was a disrespect to the community, I would say, well, I would find that it would be fair if, for instance, they made an augmented reality game and the one that finds the solution has some extra loot or whatever, but something inside the game, not something because you paid more or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I like that idea.
Because I'm sick and tired of just grinding for loot, not grinding for loot, buying items from the store. I would rather grind for it and actually do side quests, missions to get achievement that will get me that rifle than just spending $10 on a weapon, which, like, okay, I'm going to use it, but it's just I spent real money on this. I don't feel any pride in it. So yeah.
What, you
Yeah,
don't like
exactly. The pride,
you don't,
yeah.
you don't like $30 Fallout skins? What's wrong with you? Get with the program. Come on, man.
Tied to this subject, Ali is asking, with the recent update of GTA Online adding virtual gambling in a virtual casino, this had me wondering if Cyberpunk law and wood has gambling casinos. If there's gambling casinos in Cyberpunk, you can be sure that you won't be able to gamble real money.
Yeah, no, 'cause that would be sketchy.
It's even sketchy right now, seeing as that they've added a casino to the next GTA content, and right away this triggered a whole bunch of things because it's actually illegal in a lot of countries. Yeah, there's a lot of bans that are turned on as soon as you have something in the game that basically functions as an actual casino. As soon as you do that, you're in a lot of cases you're out of luck.
Yeah.
That's actually banned in my country, the gambling from GTA, and I think it's cool. Like, why would you?
That's pretty shady.
Yeah.
That's so shady.
Yeah, everything associated with gambling, skins, loot boxes, it's roulette. People just can't. It's like, oh, it's just skins, ones and zeros. Yeah, even in the machine you're playing against in real life, it's ones and zeros until you win something actually. So. Yeah, it's bullshit. It shouldn't be in video games, and I'm glad that CDPR is not dwelling into that. You just want to give the game, and everything is gonna be in the game. You don't have to pay extra money to open a door.
Yeah.
Well, with this philosophy, I confess that I wonder how are they going to monetize the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Because it's a type of game that has additional expenses from the studio part from development, and just with the price of a AAA game, it is not enough for the studio to, take care of all the expenses like servers and such. So how are they going to monetize it?
Maybe it's just gonna be like, where they'll have a gun that you could, if you don't want to grind, you could maybe buy it, but if you grind, you will be able to get it anyways. Maybe just for people that don't really want to, where it's an option.
Yeah. I would more go for the skins, actually, rather than that.
As long as they are not $30 skins like before. A fucking skin. I still can't believe it.
It's not even a good skin. It's just like a recolor.
Yeah, really.
That's
I know.
the fucked up part.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I want to be playing as Keanu Reeves in order to pay $30. If not, then I don't think it's worth it.
Well, to be completely honest, I don't need to play with Keanu Reeves. If for $30 I can sleep with him, maybe I would pay.
For $30 if he comes over and plays with you. Like, okay, yeah, you guys will be millionaires in a night.
Yes.
But no, I wouldn't have a problem buying a couple of skins from a studio that actually respects my money, honestly. Like, I know that it's in a bad voice now. Oh, skins, blah blah blah. But if it's actually coming from a studio that respects me and respects my money, and it's not forcing me to buy it, it's not like the games now, like mobile games. It's like you log into it, there's an actual quest. Open up this loot box. Hey, there is more. And that is something that should be avoided. And if it's respectful in that way, honestly, they have to earn money in some way. I mean, they have microtransactions in Gwent. No one is bothered with that. I mean, no one is complaining about that. So
because it's a free-to-play game, but Fallout 76 costed me €70. 70.
What? What?
70. Well, not to me because it was a present. To the person that gave it to me, costed €70.
Oh God.
Plus, if I wanted a skin that I didn't want, 30 more. Oof. That's the difference in a free-to-play game like Gwent. If you have microtransactions that maybe you want them, maybe you don't, because it all depends. Like for instance, I don't know if you remember Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they made a progression system that was slower, so you had to pay the microtransactions for the XP boost if you wanted a regular progression system.
Yes.
So they created the problem and then sold you the solution.
Oh,
in a game that was, again, $70 worth. 70 the cheapest because they had like zillions of different editions from 70 to 200.
And in single player, right?
Yeah. Yes, single player.
It's like they put all of that stuff in single player. Like you expect, like what are they going to do for multiplayer? Then it's like the thing that you all mentioned, MD, with the guns and how you can actually buy them or just grind for them. That can also become a problem. I believe, was it Call of Duty that actually included that, some cool guns that are so overpowered. So I'm guessing it will depend from like how the gameplay is going to be in multiplayer, but hopefully those guns are not going to be too OP.
I think Battle Pass has gotten popular when it comes to monetization. I don't know how well that would work in Cyberpunk multiplayer, because we obviously don't know how that's gonna work.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Like battle passes.
Oh yes.
That's pretty popular these days.
Yeah.
So I kind of spaced here. So I have an entire spiel on the next step of microtransactions should the loot box system be outright banned in most countries. Basically, it crossed my desk and there was a bunch of people running some equations on trying to figure out how can they make the most amount of money should the current system falter. And actually, most companies already have a backup plan. The plan that works the most right now, that gets them the most amount of money, is the loot box system. It's just out of all of the scenarios that they have tried and out of all of the things that they've done to try and figure out how to bleed the most amount of money from the most amount of people in the most profitable way possible, this is the current system that they have. Now, the next steps to this is going to be a lot of time gating incentives, where it's like, hey, you're only allowed to play for 8 hours today, but you're missing out on this event where if you play for 10 hours and complete this thing, then you get this loot box reward, which doesn't have any of the crap or the garbage in it that you get now with a lot of loot boxes, where you open a loot box and there's nothing in it that you want. There's nothing in it of actual value. And instead, what they're doing is they're going to make all loot boxes, you can't buy any of them. You cannot buy any of them, and they do not contain garbage items. They all contain good items, like the Fortnite system that they have right now, where it's like, you buy the battle pass and the monthly battle pass, all of those passes are in there. All of those items are in there. You know exactly what you get at what stages. But now they're going to say, but you're limited to a certain amount of progress, XP, time, etc., 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 per functioning time period, but the time periods are short. And maybe you've been working or at school, and you come home and you're like, okay, even if I win every single game in the next 5 hours, I'm not going to get enough XP to get this battle pass. But if I spend and buy a time booster that's going to triple my XP, then I can unlock this and even some more stuff. And that's what they're going to be selling from here on out. The functionality of the reward system will only be curtailed in the sense that they're going to get rid of most of the junk, and they'll start to put in time limits that you can then buy your way around. And their explanation for this is actually already feeding into what a lot of parents groups and governments and especially China are saying, that, oh no, we don't want our citizens playing video games for more than 20 hours a week. So they're going to say, we're doing you a favor by making it so that your kids can't play the game more. But what they're doing instead is they're giving the time investment that the kids are playing, they're going to make that become far more valuable if they have the monthly pass or the special access program or the XP booster, which is going to basically take the time crunching from 20, 30 hours to get that one thing to like 5 to 10 hours, especially when the time limit for the thing is like 10 hours. And you can't possibly do it in the normal way. And what they've discovered is that they already get the people, the elites, the gaming snobs, the hyper nerds, they get them on board with this move. You know why? Because they get to say, maybe stop being bad then. And you're playing, and they're making these people play right into their plan, right into the plan that they have of like saying, no, we want to make it so that you're encouraged to spend money every way, every day, every format to try and pump this into it. And you just watch the, we were talking about the media earlier. Just watch what the media does. The approved, I'm doing air quotes right now, the approved gamer media. The approved gamer media is going to come out and say, yes, ooh, cool, yes, we believe that this is a good system. And all those people who are complaining about skill and skill not being required in games, well, now the skill is in the game, but so is the time gating. And so is the insane difficulty. And what was it? Candy Crush has already been caught with designing levels at the peak version of their game that only a master computer with foreknowledge could come up with the exact way to complete the level without requiring you to spend some cash. That only a master level, like Deep Blue, can figure out how to complete that map without buying extra stuff that allows you to complete it, without allowing you to get extra turns or retries. And they've done this, and they've designed this very well, and it works. It's been working very well with Candy Crush and a bunch of other games. But they realize that, of course, they're going to have to, tweak how they respond to this, control how people see this stuff, and it's only going to get worse. And it is only going to get worse. But yeah, that's the stupidity that is coming down the pipeline. Thanks in part to all the people that, and I complain about this on our podcast quite a bit, is like, I complain about this a lot, and that is the people who go to work going, how can I make these people pay more money? How can I make the average Joe just dump in an extra $500 in a day to get this running? It's like, my goodness, you must live a charmed life.
Yeah.
You must be just an outstanding person of character to go to work and be happy with the fact that today I'm going to figure out how to separate children from their money and from their parents from their bank accounts, and I'm going to be so happy with this. This is going to get me a raise at the end of the year. It's like, wow, you're a disgusting person.
Yeah, and that's the problem with battle passes, because at first for me that was a great idea. All right, I buy this for 10 euros, $10, whatever, and I have a good amount of time to actually do this. And I don't mean like, okay, I'm going to be lazy, but just mediocrely playing. Or it's like the defense they have, it's like, oh, people that buy battle passes are only the ones that play the game the most. Yeah, and that's the problem. If those people complain that they cannot finish a battle pass in time, then you have a problem. Mm-hmm. And I mean, of course, you're gonna have people who are gonna go and do their work and think like, oh, I'm gonna take more money from people. That's why they're paid. Mm-hmm. And it's like crazy. But yeah, that's what gaming industry is coming to. It's like, and when they get attacked, they're like, well, we don't ask for people to spend money. They do that. We didn't put a we didn't put a gun on them. Yeah, but you're doing everything. Every single move you make is that you psychologically make someone pay money. It's either they're too slow with this, you get cool rewards. It's like this sense. And this is the problem I wanted to talk in one of my videos. It's like skins. Now, if you don't have a skin, you are not cool. And it's like they use this, stand out, be this, be that. Just basically pump their games with skins that people know are gonna buy because they see Twitch streamers using them, and it's like, oh, I want to be like this guy. So it's just, it goes round and around, and they're making billions off of that.
But it's funny how the video game world is like reflective of our real life. It's like back in the day, it's like if you didn't wear a Gucci, you're not cool. Nowadays, it's like if you don't have a Fortnite skin, you're like funny how that works.
Yeah. So
I mean,
continue.
The video game industry, that it's a business, and obviously they're going to want to make money, but there's a way of going about it. Like you said, you get EA, and it's just like they want to suck you dry, and you get developers like CD Projekt RED, where it's like, yeah, we're a business. If we are going to want to make money on this thing, but they treat you as important consumers of their product, and they respect you, and a lot of times the gamer wants to support these companies. So it's all about how how they approach.
Yeah, What? It's basically how I separate these two companies that you mentioned, MD. It's like you have CD Projekt who's like, okay, we're going to work hard, we're gonna bust our asses, but we're going to deliver a good game that people are going to respect, and we're going to earn money that way. On the other side, you have, how can we design a formula that it requires the least amount of time and it just gives us a lot of money? And then you have games with no soul. It's like grind.
I believe that one of the main differences is that is how the company was built. Because we're talking about a company that is built from hard work and from zero. I mean, it's not like Martin Iwinski and Michał Kiciński had an super investment and they didn't have to work hard to build a company. And they had to work really hard. And when they talk about money, when they talk about the money of gamers, they always say that they want to make games that worth the money that people work so hard to earn. Because they understand the concept. There are companies that are entirely composed of very rich people that doesn't understand that the majority of gamers struggle to earn that money that they are spending in games. And they do understand, and I believe that's one of the main differences.
Comes from a place, I think, of the CDPR. They grew up in Poland at a time where it wasn't a wealthy country and money was tight, and they managed to get their hands on a few games, and they talk about this a lot in their kind of like talking about the past. And it's like they had to really struggle to get those games, and then when they did get those games, they wanted to translate those games and give it to the community of gamers within their area. And I think they understand the value of a dollar, and I think they understand the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into that dollar, and that they understand that, you know, it's not nice to be treated like garbage because of that. You know, because you're just not, you know, well, sorry, you're not on the list that will give us the most amount of money possible, so we really don't care about you as a customer. And this is what arguably was the most disgusting thing that the old, I think it was, I want to say Phil Spencer, but I might be wrong with that. The guy who did was at the lead for the Microsoft for the Xbox for this current generation of consoles. And he says, oh, well, if you can't afford to have a constant internet connection, and if you can't afford to have, you know, buy this really expensive thing that is basically just a glorified home entertainment device, then, you know, we have we have something for you already, and that's called the Xbox 360. And it's like they just pass it off as like, oh, well, you know, we don't care about what you want with the new generation, the new console. And the outrage was deafening, and justly so. Yeah, well, I mean, extremely passive aggressive and just stupid when you really think about it. It's like, what? How arrogant do you have to be to like, well, I'm sorry you can't afford to play with the best, but if you can't play with the best, don't play with the best. It's like, wow, you are so full of yourself. Not even comprehending the yeah, that's just brilliant. Good job.
Even Robert in the comments says
So someone said sausage and vodka. That's something that Martin Iwinski says a lot. What's Poland known for? Sausage and vodka. I'm now game.
Robert says microtransactions are similar to drug addiction. Yeah.
There's a lot of studies that prove that the way that, in fact, microtransactions are built in a way that are psychologically very close to gambling, and it causes gambling addiction. And even though if there are, one of the biggest problems with considering gambling inside games, because loot boxes are gambling, inside the regulations about gambling in most countries of the world, is that when you gamble inside games, you don't have money as a result. You have whatever you're going to loot. But the thing that even if this is like that, I still believe that there should be regulations for these kind of practices to be forbidden in games that are targeted for kids, like it was the case of the infamous Star Wars Battlefront 2. And the other thing that totally grinds my gears is that when you buy a game that has loot boxes on the inside, this is not specified clearly. Even if you are a parent that wants to, take a little care of what your kid plays, the developer is not giving you enough information. I mean, in fact, you have a bigger warning if the game has language than if it has microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like EA says, it's not gambling, it's surprise mechanics.
Yeah, surprise mechanics.
Yeah, surprise, you're screwed.
Yeah, surprise, just wasted $10. But no, like, also someone said to me a long time ago, it's like, it was in correlation with CD Projekt, like, they look at EA, for example. I know that EA has been, everyone is just dumping on EA. You see, that's the problem. They got everything. You'll talk about the bad things in the industry. You mentioned EA, but someone told me like, okay, so why doesn't CD Projekt do the same thing as EA? Because EA is doing all of that and they're making money. Not really. They're actually losing money. So this practice can go on for some time, but EA shutting down studios, Activision is having problems. All of those studios that are doing that, people are becoming more and more aware. And it's only going to be a matter of time until company that respects your money actually becomes bigger. And those companies that put all of those loot boxes are going to lose a lot of money in net revenue.
Well, I'd like to make a comment in the comment sections. I don't know if I can say comment once more. Nick Sadler said, labeling ingredients and nutrition information on food doesn't stop people getting fat. Yes, but it stops people from buying it if they are allergic to some ingredient. That's the reason why there's this law where all the ingredients shall be labeled, because someone can be allergic to that ingredient. People that want to spend on loot boxes, they will spend anyway if they want. But people that don't want games with loot boxes, is unfair that you need to spend lots of time informing yourself about the game to be sure that you're not going to find this kind of practices inside. And there are people that has more time to do that, and there's people that they don't. I mean, the typical mother of family that doesn't have 2 hours a week to play, they don't want to spend their days reading IGN or things like that just to know if there's a way to avoid this. I mean, there should be legislation the same way that there is for a game to tell you if it has violence or it has language. If you want to play it, if you want it for your kids, the same way it should advise that you are going to need to spend money inside.
Yeah, the information needs to be accessible. It's just like what you said, ingredients on foods in supermarkets. I know people who read the ingredients list, and if it's ingredients that they don't, correlate with, if they don't want too much sugar in their food, they're not going to buy that. So it should be the same. Why shouldn't it be?
Yeah, I agree.
Or it should be implemented in the ESRB rating.
Because that's the worst part of microtransactions. It's some sort of gaslighting, It's like, no, they are here, but they are not. No, they are here. No, but, it's player's choice.
Yeah, you don't have
Oh, yes,
to.
really? You made the games lower for me to buy player's choice. What if I have a family and I don't have all the time in the world to spend playing the game? I already spent $70. Obviously, I will want to play it because $70 are very hard for me to earn. So then these people have no other choice than spending 10 more in the XP boost.
And it's like you have 100,000 people doing the same thing. There you go. You got to just earn money. It's through a very, very shady way. But I'm glad we're covering a game that doesn't have that, honestly. It's like studios don't realize that the reason why this podcast is a thing, the reason why people are so invested in CD Projekt and their titles is because they respect us. And if other companies did the same thing, then they would have people who would actually just start creating content that actually promotes the game. Because let's face it, every single podcast, every single video we do in some way promotes the game. So it's
and it's really funny. It's really funny because right now everybody is observing Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And not only the gamers and the journalists, mostly other development companies. And if they succeed with the business model, this may be copied. Even if only because it makes money. It doesn't matter the reason behind that. But the truth is that if they manage to pull it off and to make a game that sells a huge amount of copies and they make an insane amount of money, other companies are going to copy the business model that is more consumer friendly. That's another reason for wanting Cyberpunk to be successful.
True. Just Red Wolf, thank you for $5. Love you guys. Do you think they will ever add third person? I'm really bummed they don't have at least optional for people who like to be immersed that way. No, it's not going to be officially added, but I'm certain there will be mods that will enable that. I don't know how.
There are modders that are already working on it. They obviously need the game to, they need to touch the engine to finish it, but there are people who are already working on ways to implement third person perspective. It won't be ready the first day the game is out, but I would say a week or two.
I always wondered how they pull that one off like that. Especially before the game comes out. Obviously they have knowledge, they implemented things in other games, but geez.
Well, I don't know, because The Witcher 3 didn't have any kind of mod support. They didn't release the Red Kit for The Witcher 3, and in spite of this, there are amazing mods created for this game. So there are people who really know a lot.
Yeah, true. Didn't they add like first person in The Witcher also? I think I have to double check that. I think there was a mod for something.
I thought it was a joke.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I'll have to check it out because I'm not sure right now. But it will be added. I don't know how the scaling is gonna go. I know that scaling changes once you change the perspective.
Yes, that's another problem because they made all the scaling for first person. But I believe that the mod is going to give the change of perspective, and you'll have to do with the scaling of first person. So everything is going to look really big.
Yeah. It is what it is, but hopefully the only thing that I'm really looking forward to besides everything else is actual mod support, because that's definitely going to push the game. We discussed this.
I'd like. Sorry, I'm so constantly interrupting everybody because you make pauses, like people do to breathe, and then I think you're done. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, continue. I'm done.
Grima says, unfortunately, I don't agree with Projekt RED with first-person view to be more immersive. I play only third-person RPGs. I want to see my character, otherwise I can get lost in hot action and die quickly. That's the thing. That you need to get lost in hot action and die quickly. That's one of the reasons for first-person. Because the thing about Night City is that it's a very claustrophobic place. So even if you immerse yourself better in the game in third person, you are not going to immerse yourself inside this claustrophobic feeling in third person. So as artistic decision, it makes a lot of sense inside Night City, inside this very particular universe.
Completely disagree.
Oh, I was going to add that it also makes a lot of sense that they're in first person as well because of a lot of the cybernetics, like with the eye cybernetics and stuff, how it changes what you see. In third person, you don't get that. You would have to maybe go into a different, maybe in third person it would, if you go into like some kind of visual optics that you have cybernetics, then maybe it would go into first person then. But I understand why they went into first person, as much as I love third person. But for this game, it makes sense that first person is what would work best because of the cybernetics.
Yeah, I've got to say that I have seen a lot of movies in the day, a lot of television, a lot of story writing, and I can say that for sure, out of all of the third-person movies and TV shows, I have been infinitely engrossed and transported to those worlds. Out of all of the single first-person movies I have ever watched, it was a train wreck beyond train wrecks. Beyond any form of train wreck. That, of course, was. But
I'd like to point something out in what you said about the third person perspective films. Usually, inside a film, if you want to achieve a claustrophobic feeling, you need to make a super short frame, a very small frame. So this and this is how you achieve this sense of claustrophobic feeling inside a film. This is something that you cannot do in a video game.
Yeah, but again, have you seen the Doom movie?
Yeah,
The
but
one
movies
with
and games aren't really comparable, are they?
The one with The Rock?
I don't think they are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That
I don't
was
remember anything.
Terrible. That was.
I don't remember anything.
Your brain just decided to erase it. It's like, yeah, that didn't
Yes.
happen.
Yeah,
To be completely honest, I want to watch it again because I love Carl Urban.
I've never seen it. Is it in first person?
Yeah, there's a big section of the movie that's in first person.
Really?
I remember that people were running out of the theater screaming, "My eyes are bleeding! Oh God, my eyes are bleeding! My eyes are bleeding!" And they
well, the film was very bad. I can understand, even if without this first person thing, I can't understand the eyes of the people who are bleeding. It was really bad, really. This is the only thing that I remember. I don't remember dialogues, anything. But oh my God, I do remember it was bad.
I don't know. I didn't like, honestly. I'm okay with first person. Like, obviously, as you said, Sib, a long time ago, like, everyone is immersed in their own way, and it's like if you limit people to one thing, it becomes a problem. But from my standpoint, yes, I agree why they did that. Even when long time ago I did an interview with Mike Pondsmith, and I specifically asked him about first person. He said about this way of immersing, of just seeing the huge city in front of you with mega buildings. It makes sense. But yeah, don't worry. Everyone who is against first person or has motion sickness and is actually unable to play it, I'm certain, as MadQueen says, there will be mods to make it into third person.
And I'm curious how these mods are going to battle with the problem that's going to be that there's a lot of things going on inside buildings.
Yeah.
You know what happens in third person with buildings?
Oh yeah.
Horrible things.
And also cutscenes, because a lot of dialogue and everything is gonna be from first person. When you enter a car with decks and everything, how they handle that. Like, just switching in and out of dialogue and cutscenes is going to be fluid. So I wonder if that's going to be playable, hopefully.
That's another thing. Your environment, like, reacts to what you're looking at. So in first person, that's more immersive, obviously. In third person, it's going to be hard to kind of get a frame of what you're... Not hard, but harder.
Well, again, I don't understand where this idea that it had to be one or the other. You know, Skyrim it's both, and you get a real sense of claustrophobia from some of the dungeons and like crawling around. Then suddenly you get spiders after you, and I don't see why they just couldn't do both. And especially like any time where there's like an NPC calling to you, like, I mean, my goodness, there's actually games out there that do exactly that. When somebody's calling to you, it goes into first person and your character turns to look at them. It's like, this is not a new thing. This is not new technology. This is really basic technology that's been around for, you know, since 3D games really started. So I really don't understand where the idea or the concept that it was one or the other, and at no point could you go through the game and turn on one or the other, let alone like just simply scrolling your mouse. Like that seems really bizarre to me that this keeps being used as an argument when it's like, it doesn't compute.
Could it be technical here? Technical
No,
issue?
I don't think so. I don't think so because they built. Yes, the engine was built from scratch. They could have go with it. It was clearly an artistic decision, not technical.
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. So obviously, like, it's impossible to please everyone. But yeah, including that, it was included before in Elder Scrolls games, and yeah, maybe in the future something is gonna change with this, but who knows? Maybe other Cyberpunk game, when it comes out in like, I don't know how many years, is going to have that.
The mobile game that has not been announced yet, and I believe is Cyberpunk related, which is a theory of mine. Obviously, I don't know what Spoko is doing, but I think it's easy to assume it's going to be a Cyberpunk game.
That's going to be interesting to see what it is.
Yes, I thought they were going to announce it on E3. Well, I guess that they wanted to have all the attention on Keanu Reeves. But at some point they shall announce what are they going, what is Poco working on, I believe.
Maybe
Maybe
Gamescom?
Gamescom.
Yeah. PAX, something like that.
Well, in PAX they're going to release the gameplay, so I believe that they would want all the attention to be centered in the gameplay.
Then, Gamescom. Looking forward to
Does
that.
Does it even have to be an event? They could just.
Sorry?
It doesn't really even have to be an event, I guess, right? Because I mean, I don't want to say
Well,
it's
the
only a
thing-
mobile game, but it's only a mobile game. Just
But the thing with an event is that you have all the press paying attention.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's Cyberpunk. If they made a tweet about it, would
I know,
be
but
in
yeah,
all the
that's-
outlets the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't release a 48-minute demo at an event. They just randomly started a stream on Twitch, and people flocked to it. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, like they did with the other demo that they spent one day putting random code
Yeah.
with silly things inside the code.
Yeah.
I mean, they tweeted out beep and the internet went insane, so...
That's the good thing with everybody observing them. It's like, well, we want all the press to be here. Well, if you want the press to interview developers and things like that, yes, you obviously need an event. But for other things, for announcements, I believe that with Twitter, that's all they need.
Yeah, true. So
unless they want to give more information about it.
Yeah, it would make sense if they actually put it on Gamescom, but we'll see. Hopefully. Now we've been going on for 96 minutes. We discussed a lot of things. Now we're gonna be wrapping soon. So everyone who wants to say something, if they have something to say for the end. Silence.
Crickets. Cue the crickets.
I actually have a question for you guys, since you guys are, I follow Cyberpunk and stuff, but how many of you guys have actually played I know Mad Queen, you've played the tabletop?
Yes.
Have you guys as well, the rest of you?
2 times. They couldn't find the people. It's impossible.
But isn't Jay doing games in the Talsorian Discord? It's a question. I don't really know.
Is he?
I think he is.
Really?
I think he is.
I think I heard he was, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I ask him, go there and ask. Maybe because I believe that is the best place to find people to play.
Yeah.
There's a look searching for game kind of channel on.
And they play the obviously they're not playing the new one, but yeah.
I heard that they got rid of Childhood Hero in the customization. Did they get rid of the other stuff as well, the Why Night City and Key Life event?
I'm not sure.
No.
I think they've changed it to life paths, so I'm assuming that might overtake some of those elements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we're not sure.
I was kind of bummed out that they got rid of Childhood Hero, because I was like, oh man, if you choose Johnny Silverhand, an interaction with Johnny about it, or if you choose Arasaka, maybe Johnny's like, how dare you? You know, like.
Well, I believe that in the description by this Polish journalist that with what's the name for it? With the diligence that you can expect from a poll, they explained about the character creation, but they were shown really briefly, and it's going to change. I don't know if we're going to see the latest version in the gameplay that's going to be shown at PAX. It would be great because I want to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I can say with the creation of the way that they're handling the creation, the character creation. It was not really removed. It was more added. It was more so that it was added into the other aspects of the game. So it's not something that because that was the life path choice, and they basically separated those two concepts, merged the childhood hero into other aspects of the game, and then created the new life path system. And that is obviously, I think obviously, especially once you read into how the life path system works in Cyberpunk RED, which is the new pen and paper game that's coming out in just a few days. Like we are not too far away from it. We are this time Friday. Most of that info will this time next week. Sorry, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. The info will be pretty much public. So when you get your hands on that, when you read that, when you kind of sit down and make a character, I think it works out a lot better, and it really formulates that a lot better. So, cool. I think that's the better direction. It was a better direction. It was a better call. It's not been something that's been removed from the game. It's just been altered in how you go about it. That's all.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's good to hear.
I'd like to answer a question in the comments. PAX West starts on Friday, August 30th. That it's the day where we're supposed to see the new gameplay of Cyberpunk 2077. So save the date.
Yeah, we are close. We're getting close.
Yeah.
So you can finally change the background of the stream.
The video.
Oh.
Okay, I will change it.
No. Yeah, but anyway. So are we gonna wrap it up here?
Cool.
We've been going for 100 minutes. Damn, it was a good podcast. We
Yeah,
discussed a lot of things, and also for the end, I want to thank Gamermd83 for coming. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you guys for inviting me.
It's always good.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, and also
you in the that come from all of you in the chat that come from my channel. Subscribe to these people because they know their stuff. Like I said in my tweet, they're legit. So if you want to know more Cyberpunk stuff, yeah, definitely follow them.
Yeah, and also to everyone that's coming from our channels, go visit Gamermd83. And also I would like to thank Triple S League, Neon Arcade, and MadQueenShow for coming to the podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You know you can't get rid of us.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the link to her channel in the chat, but I think LastKnown's also going to throw it in the description. It's not there right now, though.
Yeah. Whoa, it didn't update. What? Okay, YouTube got me this time. Didn't update for some reason.
Yes, sometimes if you put one character that YouTube doesn't allow, it doesn't update.
Why YouTube?
Yes, it happened to me the other day because I started a stream that I was saying the title of the stream, Hangout Day. It was one of my Hangout days, but it was after E3, and the title, the people that was visiting the title it said reaction to the trailer. So people thought I was going to react to a new trailer. So it was absolutely an unintentionally clickbait.
Yeah,
they don't update the live streams very well.
YouTube has been.
Come on, YouTube.
They need to change their streaming technology and stuff they have here. It's like it's so hard to make a goddamn live stream here. It's like on Twitch it's like this, but here it's like do this, do that, and then am I demonetized?
Can't even play music. Come on.
Oh yeah, that they have to do something about that. So yeah. That's it.
Let's stop complaining because we don't want you to get demonetized.
Don't worry, I am probably demonetized already.
You,
I didn't make any dick joke today.
And demonetized. Okay, so thank you all for coming. I'll leave the Gamermd83 link when this live stream goes up, and that's gonna be when YouTube does the processing, so quite soon.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming. Stay breathtaking, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.